Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. We will start the session saying the refuge and bodhicitta lines. And maybe start a little bit arrangement. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. To help us to have a positive, a constructive motivation or intention to participate at this gathering, and for the followers of the teachings of the Buddha. That means holding the mind, taking refuge, and within the teachings of the Buddha, many of us follow, the Bodhisattva and the teachings, Vajrayana teachings, and for that, holding the bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment. So while we are reading those 4 lines, try all our best to hold these 2 realizations, taking refuge and bodhicitta, as our main intention. Oh, yeah. Sanje che dan so je chonam la changju panto dane japso che dage chen so je be chonam je dola penje sanje dobara sho sanje che dan so je chonam la changju panto dane japso che dāgi jinsō yīwē tsō nāma jī dōlā pēnjē sāngjē dōmbārā shō sāngjē chē dāng tsō jī chō nāma lā chāngjō bātō tāne jāpsō jē dāgi jinsō yīwē tsō nāma jī dōlā pēnjē sāngjē dōmbārā. Sure. Oh, yeah. So holding these 2 mental states as our main motivation. Now we will say the Chenrezig mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, together. And while we are saying the Chenrezig mantra, try all our best to hold strong compassion, loving kindness, and altruism towards all living beings. In particular, the beings who are going through very difficult times. And also people who are able to hold Chenrezig, thousand arm or 4-arm Chenrezig as a form of visualization, do that. And then, from the Chenrezig's body, speech, and mind, in the aspect of multicolored lives, in the nature of, the Chenrezig's, what you call the great compassion, loving kindness, the going through towards all living beings, strongly feel that, all sentient beings experience that strong compassion from the Chenrezig Avalokitashvara, who is the embodiment of all the Buddha's compassion. So hold that kind of visual, mind and visualization, and most importantly, really to hold what you call the the compassionate mind as strong as possible. Om Mani So before we read our main text, I just want to once again to remind ourselves that verse that are made that are called from the Jesongka verse, the prayer for the beginning, middle, and at the end of practice, that a verse which captures, some of the most important qualities of our teachers, that in English, may I be cared for by true spiritual friends, filled with knowledge and insight, senses stilled, minds controlled, loving, compassionate, and with courage, and untiring in working for others. So that is, the verse that are called in the last 2 or 3 hour gathering, and which is upon very clear explanation of some of those great qualities of our teachers or the gurus. And also the in Guru Puja, composed by Penchen Losang Chuyi Tenzin, in the section where request the blessings from our teachers, and Geshe Kusum Genji colony Tabwe Gyudur Tebe Jogegle Tamil Tsugi Towa Denzebe Jangwe Tuji Chenga Sowadeb. And the meaning, the first 2 lines, meanings are almost same as the text that we are reading on page 6, the first verse, which it says, your aggregates, elements, senses and sense objects, as well as your limbs, are the mandala, complete with the 5 Buddhas and their consorts, male and female bodhisattvas, lawful protectors. On that verse, page 6, the first verse, which describing, the nature of, in this case, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, that we are learning to meditate inseparable from the deity Avalokitashvara. And in other words, these 4 lines, the meaning is almost exactly the same from this the verse that are quoted from Guru Puja, in the Gelug tradition. When we do Guru Puja, Lama Choba, in the section where make request to the gurus, to bless our mental continuum. In one of those verses, the first 2 lines, meaning is almost exactly the same from these 3 lines from page 6, that our text. Then what I'm going to say is the last 2 lines from this Guru Puja's, the text. Tamil Tsugi Dowa Tenzebe. That's the 3rd line from the Guru Puja. Tamil Tsugi Dowa Tenzebe. Tamil means ordinary, ordinary humans, ordinary beings. Your aspects, your manner, in a manner of ordinary. Tamil Tsulgi, in that aspect, in that manner, Doa Denzebe, you lead sentient beings to liberation, to enlightenment. Tamil Tsuki Doa Denzebe. Doa, migrators or living beings. Demba literally means leads to liberation, leads to enlightenment. So your manner, to lead living beings are just as an ordinary person, ordinary human beings, in the aspect of ordinary human beings. Though in the actual nature, you are in the nature of these, entire mandala of the meditational deities, entire your body, speech, and mind, entire your 5 aggregates, 5 senses, and the objects of the sense consciousnesses. All these are the nature of all these meditational deities, Buddhas, and so on and so forth. Yet, when you come, when you come to lead sentient beings, your manner of leading sentient beings, your aspect of, external aspect is very much ordinary and living beings, ordinary human beings. And that word is very important one, ordinary. For us, though we can think, we can visualize, His Holiness the Dalai Lama as a, manifestation of Chenrezig, Avalokitashvara, and so on and so forth. We can believe that, and believe in that, visualize in that manner, think in that way, and so on and so forth. But how he manifests to us, he was born in Amdo, in Tibet, in a poor family, with a big poor family, have many brothers and sisters, and gone through different stages of his childhood, and so on and so forth. Now reach age 86 or 87, and we can see his aging, and so on and so forth. And that is talking about ordinary aspect. In that sense, not that much different what is happening to us, as that is here. But why in that aspect? Why in that manner? If His Holiness Dalai Lama, in this case, or in general, if our teachers, root gurus, those great masters, if they manifest, or if they sort of show us the actual aspect, we may not perceive them. We may not get, have the capacity, to see them, to have that kind of communication, that kind of relationship that we have now. So that is really Tamil Tsuji. Prayer to the refuge, protector. So that is and this is one quite, a very powerful, that third line, which is the fact so far, which is the case for us. We don't perceive His Holiness the Dalai Lama with the Avalokiteshvara or the Chenrezig or other deities. We don't. Or enlightened being. We don't. So that is something quite useful to think about. Okay. So now going back to the reading that we, actual reading, and that is on page 7, where after the visualization of His Holiness Dalai Lama, and as a what you call the commitment being, at his heart, the Chenrezig, Avalokiteshvara, the Tamsik Samba, Ishe Samba, wisdom being, and at heart of Chenrezig, letter 3, as a the thing in Samba, concentration being, and that after we have visualized, and after the visualization, then marking at the 3 places, forehead, throat, and heart, with the 3 syllables of Hum, and then strongly imagining, strongly thinking and feeling that what you call that Jamnya Kundu, embodiment of all the the refuge fields, embodiment of all those Buddhas or those spiritual masters, as written in English, inviting the 3 jewels of refuge to dissolve into him, transforming him into collective essence of the objects of refuge. So that we have done, and after that, our the main activity, the next activity is the 7 in prayer, and then we have done the first five. Just I received an email asking a question, which is in the confessing, in second line, you say, I have done my wrongs, I've done many wrongs against reason and vows. What does that mean, reason? This is a little bit, I'm not sure, why they put it reason. So just going back to Tibetan, So in the second line, when it says, I have done many wrongs against reason and vows, in Tibetan, Cherang Kanamatoa. Che Rang. So Cheba is, some of those vows that we have taken. For example, the fully ordained monks. Fully ordained monks have 250 something vows to be, to keep, and some of those vows are called Jebe Kanamatoa. Jeba means you take that vows to keep. For example, with regret, eating after the noon, eating after the noon. Fully ordained monks shouldn't, who are ill, who are sick, Buddha had compassionately given permission. But otherwise, fully ordained monks and nuns shouldn't take in, solid food after, after the noon. But to lay people who haven't taken that vow, that is not downfall. Kanamatoa. Kanamatoa, it is in Tibetan, it's written in Kanamatoa. In here, saying wrongs, wrongs, written, I have done many wrongs. Wrong Kanamatoa. Kanamatoa in Tibetan. And so that is the one. The second one is Rangshinji Kanamatoa. Rangshin means, whether you have taken a vows or not, as long as you enter or you engage in that event, that activity, whether you have taken vows or not, it is downfall or it is wrong, mistake. So, for example, harming others, harming other living beings, body, speech, and mind, the environment. In that case, if you either you have taken precepts or not, either you have taken vows or not, as soon as you have engaged in that action, it is wrong, it is downfall. I'm guessing, although I'm not sure, I'm guessing that reason and vows, reason is referring to that second one. And that's only my guess. So somebody send me an email that what is the reason referring to. And I'm guessing out of the two wrong actions, one is due to you have taken vows, that is, such as, for example, monastic vows. When you not keep that, it is wrong, it is downfall, but it is only because we have taken the vows. The second one, Rangshin Kanamatoa, Rangshin Kanamatoa is downfall or mistake. Rangshin, that is, regardless whether you have taken precept or not, whoever, if you engage in that action, like harming others, it is downfall or wrong. So I think that is my guess. Otherwise, so anyway, so just answer to that question briefly. So moving to, I think we finished our reading up to 5. We finished 5, requesting. Is that right? Yeah. So we're starting from 6. We're starting from 6. That is, and entreating. In other words, requesting to the spiritual master to live long life, requesting to the spiritual master to live long life. And so because sorry, I'm making a mistake. 나도 주제 보면서 담제 주제 지금 신 되죠. 시신 oh yeah, no, yeah, that's right. To stay with us for a long time, that is the requesting. And one thing which may need a little bit clarification is in that requesting, under the requesting second line, from the sleep of ordinary and instinctive defilements, that is slightly different translation that we normally translate. There are two kinds of obscurations or defilements. We can use the term. In Tibetan, Shenyun, Sheje Dipa, Nyomongbe Dipa. And here they're translated ordinary to the Nyomongbe Dipa, and Sheje Dipa, they're translated instinctive defilement. So what does that mean, ordinary defilements? Ordinary defilements in Tibetan Nyundip, it is referring to defilements or obscuration to experience liberation from samsara. Liberation from samsara. That kind of defilement or that kind of obscuration is called Nyundip in Tibetan. And here I think they're translated ordinary defilement. And the instinctive defilement quite often translate, what you call the, in other words, I will give you, the meaning. Defilement or obscuration to experience full enlightenment. To experience full enlightenment, obscuration to experience full enlightenment, that is in Tibetan called Shedip, Sheje Dipa, Sheje Dipa, Shedip. And here they're translated saying instinctive defilements. And just, the technical terms, because they're translated, this is the first time I've seen in that using those two terms. So just let you know, but many of you have heard those two obscurations already. Obscuration to experience liberation and obscuration to experience full enlightenment, these two. Okay. Now we are going to our today's main reading, that is 6. So here, our teachers, gurus, masters, those whom we have received, the teachings, initiations, and instructions, because they appear to us, as we saw earlier, my quotation, they show us as very similar to us, like an ordinary, showing sickness, they get ill, showing aging, and also even eventually passing away from this life. Nevertheless, from our side, from the follower side, from the disciple side, it is important to make activities, to create activities, to make requests our teachers to live long life, to live long life. And that is what here, this, here one term in the second line, which it says, which it says, indissoluble state of Evam. Anyway, I cannot pronounce. So mishikpe, Evam mishikpe kitum kimutum. Evam, it is one very profound term. This term Evam. It has many interpretation and many, connotation or very profound meaning, which we will not go today. There are several different, the explanation, in mainly talking about union of, the body and mind. Union of Buddha's body, fully enlightened beings, body and mind. Also, quite often term is used, Evam. Evam. Also, Dini Sungjuk Evam. Quite sometimes, the Evam has a meaning of, union of ultimate and conventional and ultimate truths. Conventional and ultimate truths. Union of Dini Sungjuk Evam. They don't Sungjuk Evam. Evam in the sense, the union of great bliss and emptiness. So there are many, and which is that union is indestructible, cannot be destroyed. That union, that union, and that is what saying, to remain in that manner. So until every sentient being gains calm breath of joy in the state of final realization, unfettered by the extreme of worldliness and or tranquilly liberation. So this one, which I'm going to say a little bit, worldliness or entangled liberation. This comes very often, in other words, talking about in the middle, not remaining in the worldliness, in other words, in the samsara, worldliness in the samsara in the sense under the power of affliction and the karma and dukkha. That's samsara on the one hand. On the other hand, here says, the tangled liberation, shiva. That refers to simply experiencing, enjoying, or experiencing the, simply remaining in, just free from samsara, in that peace of just free from samsara. And that is, saying the tranquil liberation. So when we are free from dukkha and the origins of dukkha, there's a tremendous sense of peace, tranquility. And there is a risk just to remain in that state. If we just remain in that state, then there is a very little possibility to interact with the living beings, to work for the sake of sentient beings. So not remaining in that state, which is just peace, just tranquil liberation, same time also not remaining in samsara, in the sense under the power of delusion, affliction, and karma. So what does that mean, remaining in the middle? That means, that though free from samsara, but fully in action, fully in action to work for the sake of sentient beings. That is full enlightenment. That is full enlightenment. So that this, by the extremes of these two, why it's called extreme? Because if we remain in samsara, that's one extreme, which we are, unfortunately, our state. On the other hand, another one is extreme in the sense just remain in that peace, but not interacting for the sake of living beings. And that is also, extreme. And the middle here is talking about, what you call full enlightenment. Quite often, Vajradhara, Buddha Vajradhara is praising that Sishi Talamine, Sishi Gun, Yawato Chichang Soade. Si, she, Siba is here translated worldliness or samsara. Si, she means, tranquil or just peace of liberation. Sishi. Ta is the extreme. Mine is not abiding in this one of those two extremes. Sishi tala mine, sishi gun. Yet you are the protector of liberation and the samsara. Sishi tala mine, sishi gun. You are the protector, or you are the leader, or you are the teacher of some beings who are in the samsara, and beings who are just in the peace of liberation. I pray to the Buddha Vajradhara. So that is here in this number 6, requesting teachers to remain for a long time. Now then is the last one, is dedication. I dedicate for my virtuous actions to all 3 times, so that I may receive continuous cares from the Master and attain full enlightenment. So this is, you don't need that much explanation, and we all know this, quite well. Number lecture gidan jiru jizun la me deme jesumde. Where is that? Deme jesumde. In the second line, which is a nice one in English, so that may I receive, continuous care from a master, continuous care from a master, and that is really important. We all know, we need, no matter how how knowledgeable we are, how sort of experienced Dharma practitioner that we are, we need their support, all the time. And that is something quite important one in this line. Jezun lame, deme jesunde, kusan, chojo malam yungtupe, dugwenta. So that is now finishing 7 in prayer. Then another offering is mandala offering. And the first verse is the common one, which is thinking, entire universe, all the beautiful things, man-made or natural beautiful things, entire universe, to hold, in your hand, and sanje shingdu mikde, sanje shingdu mikde po waji dogun namda shingdu chobasho, visualize as a Buddhist field, then I offer to you in order to, the living beings be, to experience what translated here. May all sentient beings be shared in the boundless effective. Okay, doesn't matter. So that is the common verse, the first one. Then the second verse is this offering may make precious jewels by the virtue of offering, assembly Buddhas visualize daring. Oh, my master, Evam, 3 jewels. Yeah. So in the last one, in the last verse, all my masters, my idams, and 3 precious jewels are offered to you with the unwavering faith, accepting these out of your boundless compassion. So these are the the different verses making mandala offering. So it is up to the individual whether you can do 1 verse, whether you can do 2 verses. It is up to the individual. It is mainly really in the gesture of making offerings. Not that much different from the offering that we saw in the 7 prayer. That these are the same in a slightly different fashion, otherwise the same purpose and same reason. So if you do the mandala offering, then last one, Om Idam Guru Ratna Manda Lagamni Dayame. So mandala Dayame. Say that that mantra, and then think you have received all the blessings from the the Guru accepted your offerings, and you receive all the blessings. So that part is really the one set of activities after visual in front of the the Guru, inseparable with the deity of Avalokitashvara. Now then the next part, which is in page next page 9, page 9, mantra recitation with the visualization. So now here is the mantra recitation is mantra of His Holiness Dalai Lama's name. Most of the mantras are the name of the deity, name of the Guru, and in this case, that mantra that we can see after those lines, under the heading of mantra recitation, we can see Om A Guru Vaja Dara Waginda Sumati Shasana Dara Samunda Shiri Vada Sawasiti Hung Hung. So you can see there, each syllable, is referring to His Holiness Dalai Lama's full name, apart from Om and the last 2 Hung Hung. Otherwise, referring to His Holiness name. So to do that, while we are doing that mantra recitation, then form this visualization, which in this line says, from the free, which is at the heart of the forearm Chenrezig, who is at the heart of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So it says, from the tree in the heart of Avalokitashvara, seated in the heart of my Venerable Master, in this case, His Holiness Dalai Lama, flow streams of nectar and rays of 5 colors, penetrating crown of my head. So, in the aspect of, from the tree, syllable tree, which is the, concentration being out of those 3 beings, commitment being, which is the His Holiness Dalai Lama, a wisdom being, which is the Avalokitashvara, at the heart of His Holiness, and then, the concentration being, syllable free, letter free, and from that letter free, in the aspect of, the nectars, light ray, rays of 5 colors, light rays, and stream descend or stream down, penetrating the crown of my head. So in that case, it is either you can, our current visualization, what we have done, we have visualized in front of His Holiness Dalai Lama on that beautiful throne, in front of us, facing towards us. Or another alternative is you can visualize His Holiness Dalai Lama, with the throne above your head. Or if that's difficult with the throne, but just on your head, above your head, just, the 1 or 2 centimeters above your head, not really touching directly on your, what you call head, just 1 or 2 centimeters above your head, or if it is difficult for some people, have a difficulty that visualizing the throne. If that's difficult, then you can visualize just, the lotus, and then sun and moon disk, and on that, then His Holiness Dalai Lama. If that is the case, if you visualize in that fashion, then you are yourself and his visualization of His Holiness and at his heart, Chenrezig, all are facing towards the same direction. If you visualize His Holiness in front of you, then they are facing towards you, you are facing towards His Holiness. So that's the only difference. It is up to the individual. There's no fixed, saying you must visualize either your head, above your head, or in front of you. Here, the meditation manual in here is more mainly, the explanation is in front of you. It is therefore it's called front generation. So penetrating the crown of my head. So, the people who are visualize His Holiness above your head, that is, then some entire from the, letter free, which is the concentration being, which is at heart of Chenrezig, and that all the nectars and multicolored lights, really pouring on your head, on your crown, and penetrating entire your head, and filling entire your body. And if you do other visualization, same, eliminating all obscurations and endowing me with the bold, common and exclusive, powerful attainments. So now, rangi chu ne shude deep jang. So this, penetrating the crown of my head, eliminating or purifying all obscurations. Deep jang, deeper, deeper. So, that earlier we talked about two kinds of obscuration. Obscuration to experience liberation, obscuration to experience full enlightenment. Or we can talk about, the negativities or the unwholesome actions that we have committed, created with our body, speech, and mind. From the beginningless time to the present, up to the present time. You can think upon sometimes, focus on certain things, sometimes focus on the other things, sometimes maybe we may feel certain wrong actions that we have done in our life, yesterday, today, or that we remember in our, many years time, many years ago, focusing on that, purifying that, make the visualization very, what you call excitable, sometimes quite useful, not very boring. So that is something. And dictive chang. So here when it says endowing me with the both common end. So choking here translated, saying exclusive powerful. Exclusive powerful, in other words, like the full, such as full enlightenment, or little bit, less than full enlightenment, choking to say that, to experience part of seeing, part of meditation, bodhicitta, realization of emptiness. Those are the, the exclusive, powerful attainments, exclusive, powerful. And the common, attainment in Tibetan, tumung mutu. So common attainment, common in the sense, certain ability, to support others, to help others. Those abilities are not that much stable, not that much reliable, won't last that much, and not necessarily last for a long period of time. For some people have that kind of skill to support, to help others for a certain period of time, or longest in this lifetime, but then they go away. So that is called common attainments. Traditionally talk about such as, clairvoyance, such as, some of those some of those abilities, which help useful and helpful to support others. But those abilities are not that long-lasting abilities. Just, when circumstances change, when situation changes, then that attainment goes with that. So that is called common attainment. But both are useful. Sometimes the common attainments are useful. So these two, attainment, two attainments, common attainment, and here they're translated exclusive powerful attainment, or sometimes translated supreme attainments, whichever you translate. Sometimes quite useful to know what does that mean. So mainly, really, we will see later, mainly, but while we are saying this mantra, Oma Guru Vajatara, Wakinta Sumati Jana Shasana Dara Sumanda Samanta Shiripada Sawasiti Hum Sawasiti Free, the Sawasiti Hum. When we say that mantra, do that visualization. And, to purify all our, misdeeds, wrongdoing, and also to receive all those attainments, common attainments, and exclusive, powerful attainments. Do that, but the main sort of, what we are requesting, what we should be requesting, which will come in the next part reading, which is requesting actualize the gradual path. That is the main what we should be requesting. What we should be requesting. Requesting, or we also say request blessings. Do you remember the other day I talked about meaning of blessings? Meaning of blessing in Tibetan, Chinla. Meaning of blessing, that means transform, change our mental states, change our behaviors, change our situation, change our mental states from this very confused, very egoistic, self-centered, and from that kind of mental state into altruistic mental state, an altruistic mind, compassionate mind. And that is, if that is taking place, then we are receiving blessings. And that is, which we will see, okay. So the visualize, do the visualization while we are saying the mantra. Say 7 times. If you have a little bit time to say 21 times, the number is not that set. It is up to the individual. Initially say it slowly, because visualization, saying the mantra, or usually, it's an initial training. Do it bit, step by step. First, visualization, then mantra. Eventually they all come together. It is just matter of training. If you train, it will come. It will come all in once. But initially, first do the visualization. Visualization here involves, first what's called reinforce the visualization of His Holiness Dalai Lama at his heart, at forearm Chenrezig, at forearm Chenrezig's heart, syllable 3. Then syllable 3 is, actually it is within the circle of letter Hum, in that letter 3, and letter 3 is in the circle of letter Hum, or if you visualize in English in some way in that U, Hum, there you visualize letter 3. From the letter 3, then do this visualization, current, and those 3, 4, 5, 6 lines, 5 lines of 6 lines of visualization. So from letter 3, which is Avalokitashvara's heart, and then the nectars or multicolored line. Not necessarily, do both. Some people have difficulty to think about nectar. I have difficulty to think about nectar. Sometimes I feel suffocating, when you do the nectar, because that kind of, but for me, multicolored light, is easier to visualize. It is up to individuals, So then also sometimes do the purification of those misdeeds. Sometimes do the receiving those two attainments. So it gradually, bit by bit, do the training, and then do the mantra. Gradually, also even the mantra recitation. Say slowly. Then when you are familiar with the mantra, then you can say it a little bit faster, but same time holding the visualization. So it is very much part of the training. Okay. Now then the next section, which is important one, request to actualize the gradual path. People who are, it is same, I'm sure it is same in other, the Tibetan Buddhist traditions, like Nyingma tradition, Kagyu tradition, and Sajja tradition, all have, this Guru Yoga, and have a slightly different name in Nyingma tradition. In Tibetan term is used Ladu, Lama, Dupa. So Ladu, Ringzing, Tudu. There are different terminologies are used, but otherwise the same. And that have this. For example, in the Gelug tradition, after the requesting to the what you call the merit field that you have visualized, then 3 times, then dissolving entire mandala upon you, then thinking that you have received blessings with the 4 empowerments. If there's no sock offering, then at that stage, then do the sock offering. Otherwise, then what we do straight away to do the glance meditation on Lamrim and Vajrayana parts, all the way up to the entire parts, from the beginning to the full enlightenment. So it is saying here is that we are now, our reading is in that part. So now the first, that, how many verses? 1, 2, 3, 4. The first 5 lines. Bestow on me your blessings to be devoted to my master. So now here, the first one is, the in Lamrim, gradual path to enlightenment. The term is used, the relying on spiritual master, or sometimes called Guru devotion, relying on Shenye Tempa, in Tibetan, Shenye Tempa. So that means relying on, one's own spiritual master. So, with the purest thoughts and actions, gaining confidence with you, confidence that you, or compassion, Holy Master, are the basis of temporary and everlasting bliss for you. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll read in Tibetan and say a little bit, if they need some explanation. Tell them Yungi Dewa Malupa. Here in English translated, which is in the 3rd line, are the basis of temporary and everlasting bliss. Bliss in the sense, the temporary bliss in the sense when we meet these great teachers, due to meeting these great teachers, masters, we are able to receive their guidance, their teachings. Due to receiving their guidance and teachings, we are able to live our life, this life, current life, more in a constructive way, and to reduce some of those destructive, unhealthy activities of our body, speech, and mind. If we do that, this life will be more peaceful, more joyful, not only to ourselves, living beings who live around us, people, living beings who associate with us. They also feel more peaceful, more, what you call joyful, if we live our life with less destructive actions and more constructive actions with our body, speech, and mind. And that is what temporary bliss, and ultimate everlasting bliss. It is referring to for long term, due to their guidance, they giving us teachings, initiations, instructions. There is a great hope, chance. Sometime, if not in this life, or even not in life soon after this life, but in sometime in the long, in the future lives, we will experience the full enlightenment. And that is what here everlasting bliss is referring to. It says in English, are the basis of Shigurva, the base or the foundation, in another beautiful short, the Lamrim text composed by Tsering, which is called Yuanden Shigurma. All the basis of good qualities. All the basis of good qualities. Many of you know that. So that is here, because why it's called Shir Gurba, base to really to grow all our virtues, wholesome, because of relying on those spiritual masters. Here it says, compassionate, holy master, compassionate, Chenrezig, kind, Ramjam Yapki, Pumbur Nyenyene, Samjoro Tagbe, Temper Chingilo. Now here in the second line, with the purest thoughts and actions. So to rely on, to rely on, to depend on, to rely on with our spiritual master, with the pure thoughts and with the pure actions. Samjorni Tempa, Sambe Tempa. Sambe, here when it says thoughts, with the purest thoughts, seeing, thinking, understanding all the good qualities of our spiritual masters, and through that, then Jorve Tempa, with the actions of in a many different ways, in many different forms. So then the blessing, it says, bestow on me your blessings. So that is which I already mentioned. Rely on, dependent on this kind, compassionate teacher or teachers, to transform my mental states, my behaviors, my actions, more virtues, more wholesome, less, and eventually full, as here it says, temporary and everlasting bliss. Mm? And the last line in English here it says, embody the totality of refuge past numbers. In Tibetan here it says, Ramjang Gyabji Pungbor Nyenyeba. So that we have done at the end of the visualization. At the end of the visualization, what we have done, invoke all those, the refuge objects, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, all the enlightened beings, then dissolve into that visualization of His Holiness Dalai Lama. And then strongly, think and feel that His Holiness Dalai Lama become embodiment, encompassing or embodiment of all those refuge, the fields, and similar to here, when it says, and embody the totality of refuge, past numbers. Past numbers referring to Ramjam, in other words, countless numbers. Ramjam is one of the Tibetan terms referring to huge numbers. That's what here translated, past numbers, in other huge numbers. What is that one? I think that is really what you call the, other ways most of you have heard. If you want to know more detail, you can read Lamrim in that section, which is called Relying on One's Own Spiritual Master. And there are huge, very nice detail, all those 4 schools of Tibetan Buddhist, traditions have, that kind of text, similar to the Gelug tradition, the gradual path to enlightenment. Here it is what is called, in the meditation, there are several types of meditation. In this type of meditation, it is called glance meditation. Glance meditation in the sense, your mind is, briefly dipped on that particular parts of on that particular point meditation. So in order to dip, to just briefly to have that in your mind, first we have to make our mind very, very rich with the understanding of that particular topic. In this case, how to rely on one's own spiritual master, and spiritual master, those great qualities, and how to build the connection with one's own spiritual masters, and so on and so forth. What's going on? Then the next one. Now here, then what we have is, in recognizing, acknowledging that precious human rebirth that we have, and also acknowledging, understanding, though it is very precious, very valuable, but it is impermanent. That is in this, the next group of lines, that's 6 lines. And and this precious human life that we have is not without, or is not without causes, with the causes. And these causes are, very, what you call the virtues, wholesome, causes, not that easy to create, and not that easy to create. It takes lots of efforts to create the causes for us to have this kind of precious human life. And so, in other words, thinking about the causes of human life, causes and conditions to have human life, and the value of human life itself, these are really important. Not sure though we have got that kind of, the precious human life, then not stable. In other words, not going to last forever. Then namtor chameba, not only not going to last forever, but when it is going to lose, nobody knows. Chameba. Nam tor, nam means when, tor means going to lose. Chameba, that means, no certain. And that is meditation on impermanence. And that meditation is a really, really powerful meditation. Once we understand our human existence is very, very valuable in terms of what it can do. And it is very, very valuable in terms of the causes of precious human rebirth. Then with that understanding, if we meditate on this, the second part, which is it is impermanent, and when it is going to lose, is uncertain when it's going to lose. Then this strong urge to practice Dharma will occur. In Geshe Tashi, that three principal aspects of the path to enlightenment. Another short, beautiful text by Geshe Tashi, it says, "Teljornyaka tsela longmeba, ila kombe seti nangshento." Teljor, that means, I'm not going to translate word by word, precious human life, teljor. Nyeka, difficult to obtain. That's talking about mainly from the causal point of view, causes and conditions to be created. Therefore, it's very difficult to obtain again. That, in other words, that lifespan, that human lifespan. Long meba there isn't that much time. Long meba, hila gomba. If we think that again and again, it will reduce strong grasping, strong craving to this life's, just this life's pleasure and those glitteries, those fancy things. So similar to here. Nojo chiwe tumbe tejote topja mede namtor chamebe dinang chawe namyang miengwa. So exactly in third line in Tibetan, dinang means just sort of appearance of this life. This aspect, appearance of this life, that what we see, colorful, something meaningful, something helpful, useful, valuable, what we in this life, dinang chawe namyang miengwa, not to be distracted by that kind of, colorful, but yet meaningless, those just grasping to this life things. Tamju chebe dawa chinjibo. So here in the second line, it says, a second verse, bestow on me your blessing to live a life of Dharma. And that's in Tibetan, the last line. So, thinking along these line talking about, the causes of obtaining precious human rebirth, which are the virtues, wholesomeness, ethics, and so on and so forth. Not that easy to create. And the result, which is precious human rebirth itself, meaningful, helpful, useful. Yet it is impermanent. And when it is going to lose, nobody knows. Thinking in those lines. Then bless my mental continuum. Bless on me to change my attitude, to change my mind. From what? To change my mind, grasping, craving, clinging to these lives, those things. Only this life, those things. To change from there to thinking more to the long term, next life after. And that's what here, that blessing that we are requesting. Okay. So we will stop here today. Seems we're approaching to. Oh yeah. Thank you. We will say to the Tantra prayers. Om Geshe Ma Pama La Cha Se Chanze Doma Nyuma Pamo Chene Geje Lo Dan Tam Jigen Sungwen Chuji She Je Kesara Che Walene Chanze Dongge Dawa Gun Do Kawa Jene Zibe She Kama Dongda Soba Namanji Rabdo Chewe Rambaram Chanze Seme Chone Je Je Peme Changne Nambara Jem Jimba Zundu Gado She Wa Seba Samden Ju Nyem Chanze Teshin Shepe Zo Do Taye Nambara Jawa Je Malu Paru Jimba To Ben Jawe Seji Shindu Den Chanze Doda Rahon Ye Gen Dodan Chodan Namka Kam Jigden Tombo Shabji Nende Luba Meba Guba Nem Chanze Jajin Mela Tsangpa Longla Natso Wanchu Chem Chombo Rona Tisa Namanda Nujun Soji Dune De Chanze Jeje Chatan Peje Paro Chugo Rabdo Jom Yehon Yunjang Shabji Nende Mebara Chuban Shindo Barama Chanze Turi Jiba Chenpo Duji Pao Nambara Chong Chuji Shene Chonye Tenze Tao Tamje Malu Se Chanze Kunjo Sumzen Chaji Seme Toga Nambara Jema Malu Choji Kolo Jembe Rangi Veji Tsonama Choma Chanze Rabdo Gawa Jebe Ujen Veji Tengwa Belema Sheba Rapshi Duda Rai Dudan Jikten Wangdo Tsema Chanze Sashi Kyongwe Tsona Tamje Guba Nima Nyema Chonye Yewa Yige Hongi Pongpa Tamje Nambara Choma Chanze Dawe Dumbu Oje Gyamba Tamje Shindo Parama Rebe Chone Weba Mele Tabara Shindo Reba Tsema Chanze Kebe Tama Meta Barwe Tengwe Wene Nema Ejan Yungo Kune Koroge Taye Pone Nambara Choma Chanze Sashi Ngala Chake Teji Nujin Shabji Toma Chonye Chenze Yige Honge, Rinpa Tumbo Namne Gema, Chanze Dema Gema Shema, Nyange Denshin Ju Nyema, Soa Wanda Yanda Tembe, Dipa Chenpo Jomba Nyema, Chanze Kune Korwa Kave, Kaye Lune Nambara Gema, Ige Jube Ngane Kobe, Rikpa Hungle Toma Nyema, Chanze Ture Shamne Dabe, Honge Nambe Sabe Nyema, Rera Menda Radan Bije, Jigden Sumna Yawa Nyema, Chanze Lai Soye Nambe, Rita Tajen Chana Nama, Tara Niju Peje Yege, Duna Malu Bane Sema, Chanze Lai Sonam Jebo, Tata Mim Jidema, Gune Goja Gawa Jide, Zeta Melwange Basem, Chanze Nima Dawa Jebe, Jini Pola Verab Sem, Hara Niju Dodarai, Shindo Taburim Sem, Chanze Tini Sumnam Gube, Shive Todan Yanda Den, Dudan Rola Niju Son, Jomba Dure Rapcho Nima, Savenga Teba De, Chanze Wane Nishu Saji. Kewa Di Jiogen, Sanama Yishe Chozo Shin, Sanama Yishe Le Chungwe, Taba Kuni Topara. Chanjo Semcho Rinpoche, Maje Panama Jejuroche, Jeba Nyamba Neba Ya, Kone Kondo Pewara Sho. Kanre Rave Korve Shingamade, Penda Dewa Malu Jongene, Chenrezig Tenzin Jasoye, Shabe Sede Pato Tenjoro Je. Oh yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Geshe
Thank you
Tashi.
so much,
Thank you, Geshe.
Geshe.
Thank you so
Geshe.
much,
you.
Tushina, Geshe-la.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank
very
you.
much. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. See you next Sunday.